Legacy and the Open Series.
Jacob Wilson and Shahar, both part of that California group of younger players that really has come onto the Magic scene as of late. He is running Rug Delver. Shenhar is currently actually 6-0-1 right now, so we have 2 rounds to go. Shahar has not lost. He has picked up 1 draw. That puts him in sole possession of 3rd place. He's getting paired up against Cory Terum, who is playing Jund.
Yeah, Cory's playing Jund, and this is one of those matchups that kind of is you see a lot in Legacy. Jund and Rug Delver are very popular, 2 very popular archetypes, and this matchup is very tricky because Nimble Mongoose is obviously a very effective card against a deck like Jund. However, they do have answers in Liliana the Veil, so this matchup can be very draw dependent at times, but Shahar is going to try to put as much pressure on Cory's mana as possible with cards like Stifle and Wasteland. So we'll see how this one plays out. Both players attempting to resolve mulligans. Looks like Shahar is okay to keep. Cory is now debating whether or not he wants to send his hand back.
Yeah, Jund is one of those decks that really has taken a step up over the last year. With a 4 of Deathrite Shaman and 4 of Abrupticate, it has a lot of tools now to deal with Rug Delver that it used to not be able to have, which is something that's pushed the matchup here a lot closer than it traditionally has been.
Yeah, I think before Deathrite Shaman was around, this matchup was pretty comfortably in Rug Delver's favor. But yeah, like you said, Deathrite Shaman is a very, very, very good card in this format, and in particular, it allows Jund the opportunity to sort of get ahead on mana if it's left unchecked. So one of those cards that Rug Delver needs to answer, which is one of the reasons when I'm playing Rug Delver, I like to play 1 copy of Forked Bolt in my deck as opposed to the 1 copy of Fire Ice that Shahar has in his list, just because sometimes having that 1 mana removal spell just to deal with Deathrite Shaman can be very important.
Yeah, so we are underway. Both players started a fetch land. Shahar was on the play. Cory went ahead and cracked a Verdant Catacombs, checked for Stifle. Shahar has let it pass. Cory now searching up Basic Forest. Looking like for that Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, and you can see Cory kind of knows this matchup, knows that getting a basic land here is very important so that he doesn't expose himself to Wasteland, because obviously he probably at this point in the tournament knows what Shahar is playing. Shahar is a very high-profile player. When I'm in a tournament, I like to walk around the tables, and if there's a high-profile player, I like to kind of see what they're playing because, you know, they're generally the ones to beat. You know, they have a target on their back.
Yeah, so we see that fetch to get a forest, and we'll see if he has the 1-drop. Sometimes, yeah, actually he didn't have any turn 1 play. He was just cracking the fetch land there to try to get around a Stifle, it would look.
So, yeah, it's surprising that he would do it on his turn and not on Shahar's upkeep.
Yeah, typically you would do it on Shahar's upkeep if you're going to do it then, or wait until Shahar actually cracked a fetch land himself.
Exactly, yeah.
To do it, but it does still work. Shahar plays a 2nd fetch land. He's going to crack the Flooded Strand for a Delver of Secrets, and now he has a Scalding Tarn in play.
So that was a great draw for Shahar there. Delver of Secrets, obviously, very important to this deck. So is Nimble Mongoose. But you really want to get a threat in play because even though you have cards like Stifle and Wasteland that can put pressure on your opponent's mana, if you're not pressuring them with it by attacking, then you're really not doing that much, and you're just giving them more time to draw out of it.
Yeah, so we see a draw there from Cory Terum. He has a lot of disruption at his disposal. He has a Thoughtseize, a Wasteland, and a Liliana of the Veil in hand. And provided the fact, as long as he has the mana to cast them, he should be able to put a lot of pressure on Shahar right now.
Yeah, but unfortunately for Cory, I think going for that basic land might actually hurt him because it doesn't look like he has the colored mana that he needs right now. It looks like he might have a Punishing Fire in his hand. I'm not sure, but there's definitely a red card in there.
Yeah, and is Punishing Fire, but Cory is going to go ahead and make a Tarmogoyf here. Tarmogoyf currently a 1/2 just land in the graveyard.
Yeah, and Cory, you know, obviously there are times when you have to play around Wasteland, and he decided to do it this game, but I'm surprised, like you are, that he didn't have the Deathrite Shaman on turn 1 because it makes that play a lot better if you have the Deathrite Shaman. If you're just going to go for a basic land, then you're kind of hurting yourself anyway because you can't cast the colored spells in your hand.
And it might be one of those no way out situations. You see Shahar here actually does have the Wasteland in hand. So, and he's going to get a chance to waste Cory's Wasteland if he wants to defend mana right now.
Yeah, I definitely like this play because, again, getting rid of a mana is, it doesn't matter if it's not a colored mana. You're still keeping him off of 3 or 4 mana, which is really where his deck wants to be. Shahar does miss one of his first Delver trigger, though, but he's got a 2nd Delver here.
Yeah, well, he's already pretty far ahead on the board by having the 2 Delvers, so that trade of land really just plays into his strategy. You know, it's only going to be so long before Shahar flips these Delvers, and when he does, he's ahead by quite a bit.
Exactly, yeah, and a basic forest in play is really not that important. Shahar doesn't even care about it. He'd be more concerned if it was a swamp or a red, because at least that turns on some of the removal.
All right, so no land from Cory Terum, just a swing for one from Tarmogoyf. Shahar will flip Brainstorm to flip both Delver of Secrets. They now are Insectile Aberrations, and 6 power in the air is looking to come Cory's way.
So Shahar goes from 2 power on board to 6 power on board just because of a Brainstorm, and not a bad card to flip either.
Right, I mean, that's his reward for drawing a Brainstorm, is that he just gets to have a flying army.
So Shahar now has double Tarmogoyf in his hand, along with that Brainstorm that he's just drawn, and a Spell Pierce as well. So a lot of options for Shahar right here. Let's see if he wants to cast Brainstorm right here, or if he just wants to pass and maybe use it later on.
Yeah, and there's really no need to go for the Tarmogoyfs right now because he has 6 power in the air. He really just needs to protect his flyers.
Yeah, because the Tarmogoyfs are basically going to bounce off each other anyway. So. But Shahar just wants to kind of press an advantage. Again, he does have 2 Tarmogoyfs, so maybe his goal is to just, get one out there, and then the next turn, if Cory misses another land drop, he's going to be way ahead now.
Yeah. So just wanted to catch you up with the tournament as it's progressed so far. This match is almost certainly going to have the winner be in top 8 contention, if not in top 8 if it's Shahar. We had Eric Cabanero and Ricky Sitter were the last 2 undefeated players, and they most likely have drawn into top 8 this round.
So they're probably our first 2 players who've locked up a top 8 spot. And Cory does draw a second land, and it is a Marsh Flats, so this will be able to search for probably a Badlands to give himself access to both red and black mana, which means that Punishing Fire now will get turned on.
Yeah, he's going to have to find that Punishing Fire. He's gone down to 12, so if he isn't able to kill a flyer, that's going to mean that these Insectile Aberrations are a 2-turn clock.
Yeah, so now he has Punishing Fire, and this is one of the reasons why I was wondering if Shahar wanted to maybe just wait a turn and pass back.
Just a Spell Pierce?
Because that Spell Pierce, but I think maybe he was afraid of Abrupt Decay. If Cory goes for Abrupt Decay here instead of Punishing Fire, then that play kind of looks silly. But again, I think the Tarmogoyf isn't really going to be that impressive right now. He's really going to need to get that second one in play before he can start attacking.
So we do see Punishing Fire takes on one of the Insectile Aberrations. Right now, Cory does not have a way to buy back the Punishing Fire, but he has stemmed some of the bleeding. Shahar only has one 3/2 flyer left in the air, and we see the Tarmogoyfs immediately move up to 3/4 with the addition of instant and creature to the graveyards.
Yeah, so Shahar's still in really good shape. He's got the 3/2 flyer still, and he's got 1 copy of Tarmogoyf in play and another in his hand. So let's see if he decides to cast number 2 right here, or does he want to Brainstorm and try to dig for some more action? If he digs for a Lightning Bolt, he can finish off that Tarmogoyf if he decides to block. So looks like he's going to cast Brainstorm first. Can we get Shahar back in camera? We can't see his hand. Can't see his board.
All right, so that Ponder's going to draw. Look, that Brainstorm's going to draw what looks like another Tarmogoyf and a Ponder.
So now he has Spell Pierce, Ponder, Land, and Tarmogoyf in his hand. So he's going to send in both creatures here.
Yeah, and if he has the Bolt, this is a really good attack for the Tarmogoyf. I mean, I think he's going to swing it so that to make kind of Cory call the bluff here. That said, Cory probably just has to call the bluff. He's at a little too low of a life total to not.
Yeah, it's basically a low risk bluff. If Cory does call, which he likely can, he really can't afford to take 3 damage there from a Tarmogoyf. Then it's no big deal because you have a second Tarmogoyf. But there is always the off chance that Cory is afraid of a Lightning Bolt there. So.
All right, so Tarmogoyf's everywhere. Cory does not hit his 3rd land, but he also does hit his 2nd Tarmogoyf.
Yeah. So this is the situation where if you're Shahar, you really wanted that 3/2 flyer in play because now the board is basically clogged up.
Yeah, Shahar will swing the Insectile Aberration. He puts Cory down to 6. And it's going to be difficult for Cory to answer this Insectile Aberration. His removal spells in hand are Liliana and Liliana.
Yeah. So great situation for Shahar now because now he's threatening lethal next turn, and he does have a Spell Pierce in case Cory draws a 3rd land and tries for a Liliana to Veil.
Yeah, Cory does draw a 3rd land this turn. Unfortunately for him, it is a Wasteland, so it's not the 2nd black mana he needs to cast a Liliana. I'm going to take a look at the board. Currently, Shahar is up 3 Tarmogoyfs to 2, but more importantly, he's up the Insectile Aberration.
Yeah, and with Cory at 6, that means that if 2 of those creatures get through, that will be lethal. So Cory is going to lead off with a Wasteland on Volcanic Island, maybe fearing a Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, that could easily buy him a turn if he believes Shahar has a Lightning Bolt.
Well,
And
he's dropping a third blocker here. So, yeah, I think his plan is just, I'm going to block all 3 of your Tarmogoyfs, and I don't want you lightning bolting me out of this game. But Shahar,
draws the 4th Tarmogoyf.
oh, God. Shahar just draws a 4th Tarmogoyf here. So, either way, I don't think it was mattering. Cory was going to lose the Dark Confidant to one of the Tarmogoyfs and drop down to 3.
Now,
So
if
he
you're
would
Shahar,
need,
you have to play the Tarmogoyf here, right? Just to kind of show him that, hey,
I
look,
mean,
I
for
have the
style
last one.
points,
Yeah.
for style points at least, yeah. But either way, all. Oh, so it looks like only. Yeah, you have to attack with all 3, otherwise you can double block a Tarmogoyf. So all 4 creatures are coming over. Cory can't block the Delver Secret. They're insectile aberration, so he will drop to 3 at least.
Yeah.
And Cory likely just gonna put 2 Goyfs in front of other 2 Goyfs and then chump block with the Dark
Yeah,
Confidant.
he's locked into doing that. Otherwise, he dies on this attack. So Shahar puts Cory down to 3, and we see the 4th Tarmogoyf.
So let's see, Maelstrom pulse to actually clean up those Goys. But either way, Cory's going to die to the Delver Secrets, and Shenhar takes game 1, up 1-0 now, and we're going to move into their sideboards. So Shahar, Shahar's deck is, Rug Delver is pretty good against Jund, particularly game 1, because they can go after your mana, and they have cards like Nimble Mongoose that are really kind of difficult to interact with. After board, he's got cards like Life from the Loam, which you could choose to bring in, which kind of help him Wasteland lock Cory's deck, along with also you can kind of get back your lands and make sure that you don't get Wasteland locked by the Jund deck. He also has 1 copy of True Name Nemesis, which can be very good against Jund, especially if they don't bring in cards like Engineered Plague or Golgari Charm, because again, those cards aren't that great against Rug Delver. And a lot of times you don't expect Rug Delver to have a card like True Name Nemesis, because getting to 3 mana can be an issue at times.
Yeah, so we see the Life from the Loam and the True Name both as weapons that Shahar can be using here. On Cory Terum's side, he has some extra removal in the form of Diabolic Edict. He also does have the Golgari Charm that you're mentioning, and I would imagine 3 copies of Pyroblast to be using against Rug Delver. They take care of Ponders, Brainstorms, Dazes, and Insectile Aberration, which is a card that Jund has somewhat difficulty dealing with, as we saw the first game.
Yeah, so you could see like Diabolic Edicts coming in. The question is you want to bring in the Surgical Extraction to try to go for that Wasteland, your Tropical Island play, and then Surgical Extraction all your green sources. That is a strategy that we have seen even Rug Delver decks employ, because the Rug Delver deck, they only play 3 copies of Tropical Island. So if you can Wasteland that Tropical Island and then Surgical Extract those Tropical Islands from the game, then the Rug Delver deck has a difficult time winning, because they're basically all in on Delver Seekers. They can no longer cast Nimble Mongoose or Tarmogoyf. That is a much more high variance play, but it is an option that is available to him.
Yeah, and that is something, especially when your opponent's on a Life from the Loam style strategy, where they're milling themselves. It gives your Surgical Extraction a much bigger impact than it typically would have.
Yeah,
You'll be able to find that land much easier.
Yeah, so from Shahar's side, obviously cards like Force of Will and Spell Pierce aren't really that effective in this matchup, so I'd expect them to probably cut those 6 cards. And I could see the Life from Loam that we mentioned, along with the True Name Nemesis, a Submerge, and I think 2 copies of Forkbolt want to come in too, because you really want to deal with the turn 1 Deathrite Shaman. It's also good at dealing with Dark Confidant. And as for the 6th card, I kind of like bringing a Vendilion Click here, just because it's another threat. You can cast it at the end of turn, so you can get around Liliana. And it also gives you information. It can steal a threat like Bloodbraid Elf.
Sure. Now, in this match, I'm going to go ahead and go to that side. Is Bloodbright Elf a card that Cory will even keep in this matchup? Anything that's a 4-mana sorcery against Rug Delver sometimes seems a little ambitious.
Yeah, again, Rug Delver's plan against you is to sort of go after your mana. So it is possible that he just boards some of those cards out, along with maybe some of the Abrupt Decays. Although, no, you probably, not Abrupt Decay, I'm sorry, Hymn to Torok.
Right.
I'm not sure you need Hymn to Torok in this particular matchup.
Well, Hymn's really only good like on turn 2 on the play in this matchup. Rug Delver's very good at emptying their hand very quickly.
Yeah.
When you get a chance to cast a 2-mana sorcery, you oftentimes need it to be a card that affects the board, because Rug is already committing such a presence to the board from turn 1 that you don't really have time to cast discard spells, and that cost more than 1, really.
Yeah, exactly. So I like Diabolic Edict a lot in this matchup, and I kind of like the 1 Scavenging Use too, just because it's a way to sort of go after the graveyard a little bit. You know, obviously Tarmogoyf relies on the graveyard, Nimble Mongoose as well. And it is a threat that can be somewhat difficult for a Rug deck to deal with, short of a Submerge at times. But yeah, I'm with you. Maybe cutting some of those Bloodbraid Elves and the Hymn to Torek for 6 cards out of the sideboard might be their correct strategy.
Yeah, so we're about ready here. Cory's going to be on the play this game. So both decks are wasteland decks here. A lot of times, Jund against a lot of decks attacks the mana base. Is this still a matchup? Jund almost values its lands more highly than Rug Delver does in this matchup. Are they still a wasteland deck here? Are both players going to each other's mana, or is Jund basically playing defense?
Jund uses his wastelands very opportunistically. I mean, they try to color screw their opponent at times, but generally they are much more mana hungry than Rug Delver. Rug Delver is the pure tempo LD deck of the format. They are very streamlined. They have cards like Stifle and Wasteland, and they don't need a lot of mana to function. They can function really well on 1 or 2 mana. So. And even a card like Daze, even though it's not a land destruction spell, it does put pressure on your mana because you don't have a lot of mana to work with. It can counter cheap spells. So in terms of the Wasteland deck, the true Wasteland deck, that is going to be Rug Delver. It's always going to be Rug Delver. But Jund, very more opportunistic with their Wastelands.
Sure. So we see Shahar taking a mulligan down to 6. Cory is keeping his 7 here.
So yeah, Shahar off the 6 cards here. Cory has to be happy with that. On the play, he can get some really, really good draws with a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman, turn 2 Liliana, which is one of the reasons people really like playing Jund. I mean, being able to go turn 2 Liliana of the Veil in this format is really good, regardless of what deck you're playing against, whether it's a creature-based deck, a fair deck, or an unfair deck. Being able to go turn 2 Liliana Veil is huge. So that's one of the main reasons people really like playing a deck like Jund. Along with the Punishing Fire combo. Punishing Fire combo is actually pretty oppressive against certain fair decks like Merfolk or Death and Taxes.
Absolutely. The ability to rebuy a 2 damage burn spell can be so important for the deck.
That Punishing Fire combo, the first time I can remember someone playing it was at Pro Tour Austin by Brian Kibler and Ben Rubin. I don't know if they invented it, but that is definitely the first time I remember anyone using both Grove of the Burnwells and Punishing Fire as sort of like this reusable damage source.
Yeah, that was the big zoo deck that Kibler ended up winning the Pro Tour with. It picked up popularity fairly quickly, eventually leading to a ban in Modern on the combo.
Yes, and for those of you at home, we are required to mention that Brian Kibler won a Pro Tour at every event that we work. So that is our contractual obligation, and I will not bring it up again for the rest of the tournament.
We have checked it off the list, though.
Yes. So Cory Terum, Shahar Shenhar keeps his 6-card hand, and Cory leads with a Marsh Flats, and he sacks it immediately to make sure that there is no Stifle shenanigans from Shahar's side of the board. Let's see if he does have a turn 1 play, though.
Yeah, now he has to decide whether or not he wants to get that basic or to get a duel in this situation. Looks like he's going to go for the basic again. This time, though, it's a swamp, not a forest, which is probably indicative of a Thoughtseize or an Inquisition of Kozilek.
Yeah, and, Cory was a little color screwed in the first game because he went for that basic forest. But again, Shahar had the Wasteland, so it's still the correct play. It's just kind of unfortunate when you're playing against a deck like Rug Delver.
All right, so actually the turn 1 is going to be a Deathrite Shaman.
So, yep, great turn 1 for Cory. That's obviously the card that you want to see most when you're playing Jund.
Yeah, you want to fetch land. The turn 1 fetch land into Deathrite Shaman, pretty much the ideal start.
So Shahar looks like he has a Volcanic Island, a sack land, along with a pair of greed creatures, one of them being a Nimble Mongoose. I think he has a Daze in there too. So let's see how Cory navigates this turn. What does he want to do?
All right, so we see, and as you said, that turn 2 Liliana of the Veil. Cory can go for it. He knows that there's Spell Pierce and Daze that could be waiting for him if he tries it.
But he has an Inquisition of Kozilek, so I think he wants to play a land though first, just to play around Daze. Even though he has an active Deathrite Shaman, I don't think you want to use it because what if there's not another land in the graveyard? So, but it looks like he is just going to cast Inquisition of Kozilek before playing the Grove of the Burn Willows. And Shahar does have a Brainstorm though, so he could hide some key spells. Looks like he's got a Daze in there. At least it looks like 2 copies of Daze.
Yeah, Daze, at least 1 fetch land. So in response, Shahar's going to draw 3. It is Fire Ice, True Name Nemesis, and a Scalding Tarn.
Oh yeah, so he definitely boarded in that True Name Nemesis, and now it looks like that one probably is going to go to the bottom or the top of his library. I don't know if he wants to lose that to an Inquisition. Might want to hide one of those days, or maybe just keep both of the dazes. Yeah, I kind of like
Yeah.
keeping both of the dazes in his hand.
So we'll see what he's on here. Looks like he's going to put back. Well, we'll see. Yeah, True Name Nemesis goes back first. And it looks like Fire Ice is going to go back second. Or
Yeah.
in the other order, it looks like. So Shahar is, yeah, he's undecided which one he actually wants to draw. He is going to set it up so that he draws Fire Ice next turn.
Yeah, the problem is he wants Fire Ice because he wants to be able to kill the Deathrite Shaman. Unfortunately, he has 2 sack lands in his hand, so if he wants to actually cast the Fire and Ice next turn, he's going to have to lose one of the cards. So looks like he's going to draw the Fire and Ice, and we'll see whether or not he wants to just sacrifice the land that turn, lose his True Name Nemesis, and then just cast it on the Deathrite Shaman. But I think that's something you have to do at this point. Deathrite Shaman's too good out of Jund.
Well, especially when Shahar has kept Life from the Loam
Yeah.
in his hand, he does need to answer the Deathrite Shaman because that'll really stop the game plan that looks like he's pursuing.
Yeah, so it looks like Cory's going to have a tough decision here. I kind of like just taking the Nimble Mongoose here because you can't deal with both of the dazes, but it looks like he's going to take over. He's going to take the daze, and he's okay with Nimble Mongoose being in Shahar's hand.
Yeah, well, he can build up to 4 mana here with a land up this turn, a land up next turn, and then maybe go for a Liliana. He only needs it to be daze-proof through 1 daze instead of 2 dazes.
That's true. So let's see. Cory is going to sack his Wooded Foothills. Let's see if he just tries to get a Tarmogoyf out here to try to bait a daze.
Yeah,
Or maybe he's just sacking to protect himself against Stifle.
any of them could be true. We're going to see he's going to get a land. He has some larger spells in his hand. He does have a Liliana of the Veil. I also caught that he has a Bloodbraid Elf in hand. So he looks like he has kept them in the matchup.
So Cory sacks his Wooded Foothills to get a bad land, so now he has access to red mana. Of course, Deathrite Shaman can remove either the Marsh Flats or the Wooded Foothills for any colored mana. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he just cast the Tarmogoyf here to try to bait a daze and then resolve a Liliana next turn. But yep, it looks like he's going to just pass the turn. He was playing around Stifle. And this is pretty good for Shahar here because he could sack the land and cast Fire and Ice, but
yeah, he looks like Shahar is interested enough in the True Name Nemesis that he's going to go ahead and wait a turn. So we see on end step, Cory uses that extra mana that he fetched for to remove Daze, deal 2 damage to Shahar, and now Shahar's down to 18.
Yeah, unfortunately for Shahar, he did not realize, he does not know that Cory has a Liliana Veil in his hand, so Liliana Veil is one of the few answers that Cory does have to a True Name Nemesis. It's going to be tricky because there is a Nimble Mongoose that he has to deal with as well, but let's see how Cory navigates this one. Looks like he's going to activate Deathrite Shaman and get 3 mana, and now he's going to cast Liliana Veil, and that should resolve. I don't think, yeah.
Yep, Shahar just with the 1 daze is actually unable to counter this Liliana, so it looks like Cory is going to get a Planeswalker on his side.
Yeah, so if he upticks it here, Shahar can just discard the Life from Loam if he chooses, which is not the worst thing. It is out of Fire and Ice range, though.
Yeah, the Deathrite Shaman, fortunately for Shahar, is tapped right now, so he's not going to lose his Life from the Loam. But he didn't dredge the Life from the Loam, which means that Cory...
Well, he knew the True Name was on top of the deck. I think he wants to...
He's going to Fire Ice now.
Yeah, he wanted to go turn 3 True Name Nemesis. Unfortunately, with the Liliana plan, he really can't afford to do that. So I think he needs to go fire your Deathrite Shaman and then Nimble Mongoose this turn. And Nimble Mongoose will give him a little protection. No, but it won't even give him... Yeah, he can't protect his True Name Nemesis at this point because Cory can just cash in his Liliana Veil twice.
Right. That said, I think we're going to see Shahar take care of the Deathrite Shaman just so he doesn't lose his Loam right now. He doesn't have a great answer at the moment for the Liliana.
Yeah. So, that's why I think Shahar really needed to fire that Deathrite Shaman on turn 2 to turn back his turn on his dazes. But yep, we're going to see the Nimble Mongoose now. And he might just have to pass, honestly, because I don't think he can fire the Deathrite Shaman here because he has to hope that Cory downticks his Liliana Veil, forcing Shahar to sack his Deathrite to Nimble Mongoose. Then he could fire the Liliana Veil and then drop that True Name Nemesis.
So yeah, he can opportunistically try to get the Liliana. That does mean that he'll lose his life from the loam, though.
That's true. I think he's okay with that, though. I think he cares more about True Name Nemesis in this matchup than Life from the Loam. But we'll see. It'd be a different story if he had a Wasteland in his graveyard or access to Wasteland, but he doesn't. So Life from the Loam not nearly as impressive just yet, but we'll see what he decides to do this turn. Nope.
And, yep, he's gonna untap.
Yeah. So I think he's gonna try to get that True Name Nemesis into play, and we'll see how Cory plays this game. Cory does even.
Well, hold on. If Cory goes for the Deathrite targeting the Life from the Loam, Shahar could ice a permanent and dredge the Life from the Loam in response as well.
Yeah, but I think the first thing you're going to see is Liliana Veil down tick. And this plays right into Shahar's plan. I don't think he cares. Yeah, I think he just wants to get Liliana the Veil is more important than Deathrite Shaman right now. So Cory down ticks Liliana Veil. Liliana Veil now 2 counters on it. And Cory's going to tap over the Burn Willows. Looks like that's going to get tapped for green to get a Tarmogoyf into play.
All right. Tarmogoyf's into play, and he's going to, looks like he is going to go for the Loam right now.
And let's see, does he want to ice something to draw a card like you mentioned, or nope?
Or does he want the Liliana Jet? That's the choice. He can save the Loam or he can kill the Liliana. Looks like he's going to go for the Liliana kill.
Yeah.
So Loam is gone, Shahar takes 2, and the Liliana's fired.
So Liliana's dead now, and now True Name Nemesis can come down, and that is a great Tarmogoyf blocker.
Now Shahar on that turn could have dazed the Tarmogoyf to save his own Loam there.
I honestly just don't think it matters. I think you want to save the days and try to get a high impact spell later in the game.
Yeah, and as we know, Cory does have a Bloodbright Elf in his hand, so there'll be plenty of things to daze this turn.
Yeah, but the problem is Cory knows about the daze because of the Inquisition of Kozilek, so it's unlikely he's going to play into it unless he absolutely has to, which he just doesn't need to yet. He's still got an active Deathrite Shaman, and it's not like the True Name Nemesis can start attacking yet because Shahar is behind on the life count.
All right, so a draw there from Cory. He looks like he has a Punishing Fire now in his hand to go with that Grove of the Burn Willows. That is bad news for Shahar.
Yeah, so great draw from Cory. Cory can add another Deathrite Shaman to the board and still cast Punishing Fire. So that it looks like that's what he's going to do. He's going to cast that Deathrite Shaman and then pass the turn back to Shahar.
Yeah, True Name Nemesis doing a great job of holding off Tarmogoyf. However, Cory is going to get to work with that Punishing Fire.
Yeah, so Cory's in really good shape this game. Shahar draws a Delver of Secrets, but Delver of Secrets will not really be very relevant in this match, in this game, because of the Punishing Fire. True Name Nemesis is basically just a moat for Shahar right now. It's one of the reasons I didn't enjoy playing it in Blue-Red, because when you don't have access to equipment, True Name Nemesis isn't nearly as impressive as it is out of the Stoneforge decks.
Yeah, and that's why we don't see too many of them in the main deck for Rug Delver. We see one of them out of the board. It's a great blocker in the deck, but really not the plan A of the deck.
Yeah, fair decks have trouble with True Name plus equipment, but when it comes to just True Name, there are ways to beat it, as we're seeing right here.
All right, so Cory going to remove a land from Shahar's graveyard with Deathrite Shaman. That's the 2 mana he needs for Punishing Fire. Looks like he's going to punish the Delver of Secrets and end of turn rebuy it with the Grove of the Burn Willows.
Yeah, so and that's exactly what's going to happen. Now we're going to see Punishing Fire go back to Cory's hand, and he's going to get to untap for the turn, and he's in the driver's seat right now, barring something crazy from Shahar's deck. Which and Shahar does not really have any ways to break up this combo. He does not have access to Surgical Extraction or Relic Progenitus, so there's really no ways for him to break up the Punishing Fire.
All right, and Delver's going to go to work on other graveyard cards. We see Delver removing for land.
Or
now
Deathrite, rather.
Deathrite, yes. For casting Bloodbright Elf, Bloodbright will cascade into Inquisition of Kozilek.
And that can take out that daze that is left in Shahar's hand. So he'll just daze it, and he's fine with letting that resolve.
And Cory won't pay for the daze.
So True Name Nemesis still doing its best moat impression.
So okay, why is there a reason to daze there? That's just putting his own land in his hand, right?
Yeah, but I don't think he cares. Like he doesn't have anything that costs 4, so
okay,
might as well
doesn't
just,
matter either way.
he might want that land in his hand in case he, you know, um, wants to discard
Draws a
something to
brainstorm,
Liliana the
maybe.
Veil or something, or draws to brainstorm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he doesn't. Again, he doesn't need 3 mana. True Name Nemesis is the only 3 mana card, possibly Vendilion Click. But if he draws it, he could always just play the land. Um, so Tarmogoyf does come over.
Yeah, Dismember was drawn for Shahar. Though 4 life points on his side is quite a price to pay, especially on this board where it looks like Cory's dealing damage faster than Shahar is.
Yeah, and I kind of like blocking here with the Tarmogoyf. Or yeah, I like blocking here with the Tarmogoyf just because you have a Punishing Fire in your hand. So if he has a Lightning Bolt, Shahar's Tarmogoyf is going to die too, and you know one of the cards in his hand, so it can't be a Bolt and a Counterspell. But instead, Cory just takes it. He doesn't want to trade Tarmogoyfs there, and I like trading Tarmogoyfs there because, again, it doesn't really matter because True Name Nemesis still is not in a position to attack.
Yeah, Cory has the Punishing Fires going on, so he has a certain amount of inevitability. Coupled with those Deathrite Shamans, those guys deal damage at a fairly quick clip.
Yeah, so Shahar, it looks like he might drop down to 14 here if Deathrite Shaman gets activated.
Yeah, and that fetch line certainly seems to suggest that it's going to happen. Shahar with plenty of instants still in his graveyard.
And yep, Cory is going to activate Deathrite Shaman, removing looks like a Daze, dropping Shahar down to 14. Now Cory's going to untap. He's got no cards in his hand, or he's got 1 card in his hand.
Yeah, he still has the Punishing Fire in his hand again.
And can't make out what he drew. It looks like maybe a Maelstrom Pulse, which isn't that great right here, but Cory's going to swing in with his team, so True Name Nemesis is off moat mode for now, and it will get to block a creature.
Yeah, oh, it's actually a Liliana of the Veil, which was his drop for the turn.
Oh, wow. So Shahar decides to take 3. He could have killed the Bloodbraid Elf with the True Name Nemesis, but he didn't want to take 5 from the Tarmogoyf, so interesting there from interesting play there from Shahar.
Well, he's just trying to preserve his life total. We see that Shahar actually does get to kill the Tarmogoyf by dismembering it. That means next turn he can still block the Bloodbraid Elf and kill it.
Yeah, so that's an interesting play though, because I think he's still behind in this race because of the Punishing Fire and double Deathrite Shaman. So pretty bold play there. I'm not sure you really have the opportunity. I don't think you can cast. You're not winning this race that way, so.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's winning the race anyway, to be honest. Right now, Cory can end step double Deathrite, untap double Deathrite. There are 4 instants or sorceries in the graveyard. Cory has 2 black mana, so he just has 8 damage on the table.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't think that play mattered that much, but looks like Cory is just going to activate both Deathrite Shamans here. And, oh no, he's going to cast Punishing Fire instead.
Punishing Fire at Shahar. That'll put Shahar down to 5. He can use his mana to put Shahar down to 3 and down to 1.
And Shahar does have a Stifle, so he can stop one of the activations.
Yeah, but Cory has overkill by 2 points.
Yeah.
So Shahar would need a pair of Stifles to stop it, which he doesn't have. And now Shahar's debating, do I stifle this? But the thing is, on the untap, he still has it.
So if you activate Grove of the Burn Willows, allow Shahar go up to 4, get back your Punishing Fire.
Yeah.
You can Punishing Fire. So now he has double activation.
Yeah, he can just activate and kill Shahar.
Matter.
And interestingly enough, I believe because the removal of the card, because the Deathrite Shaman ability targets, if you stifle the Deathrite Shaman ability, the card actually stays in the graveyard. So Shahar can't, try to take all the instants out of the graveyards by using Stifle.
Yep. So Shenhar loses game 2, and Cory Terum now evens up the match. And we're going to go to game 3. Shahar's going to get to be on the play now. And yeah, Shahar tried his best, but Cory had that turn 1 Deathrite Shaman. And if Rug Delver can't answer that turn 1 Deathrite Shaman, things can get out of control pretty quickly. And, we saw there Deathrite Shaman played a huge role in the batch, not only getting a mana, but ended up winning the game for him through a True Name Nemesis.
Yeah, so going back to just where this match fits into the tournament, at 6-0-1, Shahar with a win here would lock himself into top 8. Cory Terum very possibly will top 8 with this win, but may still need more work depending on how things shake down.
Yep, and yeah, if Shahar is going to be a lock, Cory needs a little help. I hopefully he'll be able to draw next round if he does win. But you know, you never know. And a lot of good players still in contention, though.
Yeah, actually, the entire the entire Shenhar Southern California crew. We have Ricky Sitter in top 8, Shahar playing for top 8, Jacob Wilson also at X and 1 playing for what could be a spot in top 8. All of them teammates.
Yeah.
At one point or another.
We have another good match in the feature match area. Ross Merriam versus Jarvis Yu, two Star City Games ringers. Jarvis Yu playing elves. Not sure what Ross is playing, but
Ross is playing elves in this tournament also.
Oh, really?
So
Elf mirror, hey?
Yeah, that's a.
Couldn't get that on camera.
Well, there's no priest of Titania anymore, so it's not a snowball mirror anymore. But other notable players: Max Tietz at X1, Justin Uppel also sitting at X and 1.
Okay, so both players present and are drawing up the cards, and let's see if Shahar is happy with his 7 cards this time around. He did mulligan in game 2, and looks like both players are happy with their hands.
Yeah.
So Shenhar is going to lead off with a volcanic island and a ponder.
All right, so Cory was able to win that last game on the back of a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman on the play, but beating Rug Delver on the draw is just so much more difficult right now, and you can kind of see that take place this game.
Yeah, and Shahar, off that ponder, it looked like he had a Forked Bolt and a Daze, and I don't know what the third card is, but generally, you'd think that's pretty good. You have an answer to a Deathrite Shaman, plus a Daze allows you to counter any cards that you're afraid of early on, but that makes me think that he needs mana. He might have kept a 1-land ponder hand. And yeah, it looks like, looking at his hand, yeah, I see another Ponder, 2 Tarmogoyfs, and a True Name Nemesis. So he's a little mana light here, and this could be very difficult to deal with if you have a Wasteland.
All right, turn 1, Cory has a Bayou. He plays Inquisition of Kozilek, so we'll get to see what Shahar still has here. It is a True Name Nemesis, a Dismember, 2 Tarmogoyfs, a Ponder, and a Brainstorm. So you're absolutely right that he has no second land.
Wow, so a very, very risky keep here for Shahar. And thankfully for him, though, Cory did not lead with a Wasteland, which I'm really surprised by, because generally, if you have the Wasteland and you can activate it, not fearing Stifle, then you go for it. But he decided not to, and he even gave both card drawing spells there for Shahar. So
wow.
Shahar's now drew a Tropical Island, and suddenly things not looking nearly as bad as they were a second ago.
Yeah, he took the True Name Nemesis, which Jund does need to do. That once that card resolves, Jund has a very difficult time answering it. Shahar does draw a land, and not only is it a land, but it's the Tropical Island, and he makes a turn 2 Tarmogoyf.
So there's one of his potential answers in Pyroblast. Pyroblast drawn for the turn, and wow, is he going to go for an Abrupt Decay here? This is strange, because he knows that there's
another Goyf.
There's another Goyf in his hand, so I'm not sure you necessarily need to start casting that now.
Yeah, I'd much rather, I think, in this situation, go at Shahar's lands.
Yeah, because if you Wasteland the Tropical Island, then, you know, not only do you get rid of his mana source, but you can also Pyroblast the card drawing spell, so you can kind of try to mana screw him a little bit here.
Yeah, and Shahar, look, really has pulled out of the mana screw. He sees Force of Will, Nimble Mongoose, and another Tropical Island on the Ponder.
So Shahar kept in Force of Will in this matchup.
That's now typically, when I've talked to Rug Delver players, is that they tend to board out Force of Will against fair decks.
Yeah, just because you don't really want to 2-for-1 yourself against a deck like Jund.
Yeah.
That's not really what your game plan is. Force of Will is sort of a concession you make to combo decks, really.
Yeah, what I've heard players say is that in the actuality, Force of Will is, you know, some people say it's a very unfair card. You don't say Force of Will is a rather weak card. It's a pretty heavy price to pay to counter something for free, but then again, it counters something for free, which is something that no other counterspell can do. So it has this interesting dynamic to it.
Yeah, like you have to counter certain things. You don't have an option against certain decks, so you just have to 2-for-1 yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to lose the game on turn 1 sometimes.
Right. So we see Shahar plays Delver of Secrets, leaves open a mana instead of playing the Tarmogoyf there. He still has that Brainstorm.
So Cory did draw a Scavenging Ooze, one of the cards that we thought he could bring in here. He has access to, he doesn't have access to double black, so he can't cast Liliana the Veil, but he can cast either Tarmogoyf, Scavenging Ooze. He can also Abrupt Decay something if he chooses. So.
Yep, he can Pyroblast. He has a lot of options available to him. He's going to start with the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, so Tarmogoyf is going to come here, and he could also Pyroblast the Delver of Secrets if he chooses. So.
Yeah, he's fairly confident that Shahar doesn't have a Daze here.
Yeah. So Shahar looks like he has a Brainstorm, Dismember, and a Tarmogoyf in his hand. Let's see if he wants to cast Dismember here. Dismember would actually kill the Tarmogoyf because Tarmogoyf is currently a 3/4.
And Shahar's going to go ahead and dismember the Tarmogoyf. Cory may take this tap-out opportunity to kill the Delver of Secrets. He's going to go ahead and let it stay. And
he's not going to be happy because the Force of Will is going to be hard to get you reveal.
All right, so he has a window here before Shahar draws the Force of Will if he wants to Pyroblast that Insectile Aberration. But
well, I think Cory's concern might be he just saw a True Name Nemesis. He doesn't know Shahar's exact list, so maybe he thinks there's more than one True Name Nemesis in Shahar's deck list.
So he needs to counter it because that's his only answer.
It's possible, but instead it looks like Cory might actually just go for the Pyroblast now.
Yeah, if he was committed to this line, he probably wanted to do it before Shahar drew the Force of Will, just so that Shahar wouldn't have the option of countering it here. I see Shahar. It looks like he's going to brainstorm in response to the Pyroblast, and if he finds a particularly weak blue card, you may see that he may counter the spell, and you see another Force of Will. That's a perfect thing to discard.
Cards?
Yeah.
Well, Force of Will not particularly good in this matchup, but it will allow him to counter the Pyroblast and keep his Insectile Aberration in play, and then he can follow it up with a Tarmogoyf or Nimble Mongoose if he chooses. So, yes, a Scalding Tarn is going to go back to the top of the library along with the Nimble Mongoose.
Yeah, and I think Shahar's going to forge Pitching Force. He protects his Insectile Aberration.
Yeah, and it feels good to do that, but in reality, if Cory just top decks a Punishing Fire, that play is going to seem somewhat silly. You're just going to 2-for-1 yourself. That's why I don't really like Force of Will in this matchup, and I think most players kind of board it out. But let's see. Cory he still has that Abrupt Decay. He's got another Tarmogoyf which can block and act as, again, a pseudo moat for Shahar's Tarmogoyf. So Cory's still in reasonable shape here. Let's see how he wants to handle this.
Cory has plenty of weapons in his hand. It's more about tempo. If he can survive long enough to cast all the cards in his hand, he will probably end up ahead. But that is, a pretty big if.
Yeah, so I like going after the Volcanic Island there. You can make sure that if the card on top of Shahar's library is a Lightning Bolt, you won't be able to trade your Goyf here. Or lose your Goyf if you block.
Well, what's interesting about Cory's hand is that the colorless mana that Wasteland gives probably doesn't even count as a full mana. When you think about the cards in his hand, Abrupt Decay, Liliana of the Veil, there aren't very many colorless symbols in those cards.
Yeah, if he can draw some mana, there's a good land, a Swamp now. So now he can cast the Liliana of the Veil, but he also can cast the Abrupt Decay, and now he can also cast Scavenging Ooze if he chooses.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to start by decaying the Insectile Aberration, which is what he's going to do. Once he can secure a board for Liliana, then he can play the Liliana. He would like to get the Nimble Mongoose with it.
And Shahar just plays that Scalding Tarn, and he's not even bluffing a counterspell. He doesn't have any cards in his hand now. And now Cory is looking to try to take control of this game. He has a Scavenging Ooze, which can be actually really good now. It's going to be bigger than most of the creatures in play. And Abrupt Decay is going to take care of the Tarmogoyf. And now we're going to see a swing from Cory. Yes, we are. Cory is going to swing over with a 4/5 Tarmogoyf, dropping Shahar down to 13.
All right, so he's down 13. Nimble Mongoose will put Cory to 11. We have a race going on. Shahar draws a Delver of Secrets. And he can use a trick with the Delver and the Fetch Land to somewhat mulligan his draw for the turn if he wants.
Wow, great draw from Cory. It's a Punishing Fire. So Punishing Fire with the Grove of the Burn Willows in play. He won't be able to rebuy it right now, but eventually it will come back to his hand. Punishing Fire takes out the Delver of Secrets, and Tarmogoyf comes over, dropping Shahar down to 10 now.
Yeah, so Cory's actually, interestingly, I'm interested that he's still attacking with Tarmogoyf. He probably does have this race, but he could be locking up the game just by leaving Tarmogoyf back on defense and sitting back on Punishing Fire.
Yeah, well, it really depends on what happens on this turn, because he has a Liliana. If he goes for it and he down-ticks it and it gets stifled, then he might hold back the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, so that's why he's doing this pre-combat, it looks. He's going to minus the Liliana. It does get stifled, and I'm guessing... Yeah, Tarmogoyf is home on defense now.
Yeah, so now he's afraid of losing the race, and he's just going to hold the defense. Because he knows if he can just survive, he's probably going to win. He's got a Scavenging Ooze in his hand. And I'm surprised Shahar keeps making his land drops here. You think he want to maybe hold something back for Brainstorm, given he has a Scalding Tarn in play. But Cory, now he still has a Scavenging Ooze. He can, uptick a Liliana. That's right. So...
He's going to discard a Dark Confidant. Shahar loses no cards. Right, so that's how he plays the land.
Yeah, that's why
he's going to lose it.
He's going to lose it to Liliana anyway. So Cory upticks the Liliana Veil. He discards a Dark Confidant. Now Tarmogoyf's going to come over. And Cory has a Deathrite Shaman and a Scavenging Ooze. He can play both of them in this turn if he wants to.
All right, he's going to go ahead and cast the Scavenging Ooze with a green up. Instead of casting Deathrite Shaman, it looks like he's just going to go to work on either buying back his Punishing Fire or growing his Scavenging Ooze.
Yep, so let's see here. Shahar has one card in his hand. Not really much he can do here. Submerge can deal with the Scavenging Ooze, and but yeah, so Liliana Veil's going to go get attacked by a Nimble Mongoose. Cory's going to activate Scavenging Ooze. He's going to target his own Dark Confidant, and it's going to get a +1/+1 counter, bring him up to 9. And does he want to block there?
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and trade away the Scavenging Ooze.
I'm surprised. The creatures are lethal, right? He could have just attacked Shahar for the win there, but
he probably still has the win intact, though. To be fair.
I think he's still probably in good shape, but.
Tarmogoyf will swing. That takes a hit from Shahar, and he is 1 hit from dead, down to 3.
We're going to uptick Liliana here?
Absolutely. He'll discard probably his second Liliana. Now, had he done that pre-combat, he would have Shahar down to 2.
So, Liliana, and then Shahar extends the hand, and it falls to Cory Terum. And Cory Terum defeats Rug Delver with Jund. Not something that you'd expect, but